So this is what Japan looks like today. What about in the past, say in the 17th century? Earlier today, we did a little time traveling. We took a ride to a town called Little Edo. It was some 50 kilometers from Tokyo. The journey transported us straight to the Edo period of Japan. Take a look. It's our last day here in Tokyo. The Quad Summit is done, the leaders are back home, so we decided to explore Japan. Not the sprawling city squares or the towering skyscrapers, but a bit of the past. And that journey brought us here, to Kawagoe, aka Little Edo. This town is almost 50 kilometers from Tokyo. As you enter it, you're transported to a different Japan, sort of like time travel. The streets are lined with shops and eateries on both sides. Their design is striking. Sloping roofs, intricate carvings, all of it represents a different era of Japan, the era of Edo. Japan's Edo period was from the 17th to the mid-19th century, right before the Meiji Restoration. It was marked by economic prosperity and military strength. Their capital was Tokyo, or Edo, as it was called then. As Tokyo grew, so did the demand for food and supplies. Cities like Kawagoe stepped in to plug the gap. This place is called the Kitchen of Tokyo because it is from here that food supplies went to Tokyo, especially in the Edo period. And one item was in particular demand, that sweet potato. In fact, Kawagoe was called the sweet potato capital of the Far East. And here's one little shop tucked in here that still sells some of those things. All varieties of sweet potato, grilled, blanched, boiled, all kinds of it. Hello. Let's try some of it out here. The verdict? Not too bad. Everyone around here seems to be having sweet potatoes, some fried, some in ice creams, and some in cakes. Easy to be drawn in by their looks and smell, but that's not what we're here to see. We are here to see these, the buildings. As you can see, most buildings in this area are built in the same style. It's the old Edo technique of kura. And there's an interesting story to it. In 1893, a massive fire ripped through this place. Almost half the city was burnt to ashes. When the rebuilding began, the locals worried about a repeat. What if another fire breaks out? To tackle this, they built everything in a technique they called the kura. Why is kura so special? Because the technique is said to be fireproof. Take any of these buildings. The insides are plastered with clay or tiles. See those windows? They're large and more or less merged with the walls. So the idea is quite simple. If a fire breaks out, the windows must contain the flames. They must not spread further. Decades ago, these buildings were warehouses. They stored grains, vegetables, sometimes even valuables. Today, around 200 of them remain, except now they're banks and restaurants. At the center of the town is this bell tower. It's a symbol that goes back to the 17th century. The original was destroyed in the fire of 1893. This one was built soon after. You'll find such nuggets of history all over the place. Temples that were rebuilt from scratch, shops with elaborate carvings and pagodas. This town is a window to Japan's past. And walking through it is a strange sensation. Because the people are from 2022, the buildings are not. In many ways, Kawagoe is Japan in a nutshell. All around me you see old traditional buildings, yet this is a typical 21st century settlement. And to my left is the best example of that. This is a Starbucks in the Edo theme. It looks straight out of the 16th century. And this sums up Japan for you. A modern, developed democracy, yet very much rooted in its history and traditions. With the WION team in Tokyo, this is Palki Sharma Upadhyay. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.